In this video, I'm going to go over with you what I did to train for my very first Grand Canyon rim to rim hike that I completed in one day. Hi, my name is Heather Monty. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and I'm going to share with you all of the things that I did to prepare for my first Grand Canyon hike. And then I'm going to share with you the things that I'm doing now, things that I'm doing differently for my second Grand Canyon hike. So what I did was I made this post in the Grand Canyon Rim to Rim Facebook group. That is a great Facebook group to go to and join if you're considering hiking the Grand Canyon. I learned a lot from a lot of the people in the group. There's actually now a Grand Canyon Rim to Rim training Facebook group where people are asking questions about training tips and how to do things. And then people that are qualified and personal trainers and this and that are sharing some information that people that have hiked the canyon many, many, many times. So it's important to note this is my experience. This is what works well for me. Your body is different. Your needs are different. So please do not follow everything that I did, everything that I'm doing to a T, because I have my own unique needs. I have my own physical requirements, my own nutritional requirements. That is my disclaimer. So I created this post. I will link to it in the description to this video so that if you wanted to read it, you certainly can. But I completed the Grand Canyon Rim to Rim on October 9th, 2022. And I had intended to hike the Grand Canyon once a year, every year from then on out until my body just wouldn't let me anymore, until till I'm no longer here. And in January of 2023, I broke my leg hiking. I had to be evacuated. That's a whole nother story. I'll make a video explaining that. I do get a lot of questions, specifically from hikers, about that process of how evacuations work and all that kind of stuff. I'll make a separate video about that. But what I did, so this is sort of a recap of the particular day. And, we had planned to complete the hike between 14 and 16 hours. And we finished at 15 hours on the dot. We did take two 30-minute planned breaks. And then we had some shorter breaks in there. So we could have maybe finished quicker, but whatever, it's not a race. So I'm just kind of going over a recap of the particular day in the first part of the post. So you can read that. I'm not going to go over that in this video. This is where we're really talking about training. So one thing that I really thought was, like, this hike is like your wedding day. Like, you spend so much time preparing for it and training for it and figuring out what it is that you need. And the day comes and it's over in a flash. So my biggest tip is just remember to take it all in. I actually didn't take a ton of pictures. I took a lot of videos of waterfalls. I seem to like waterfalls. I was actually quite shocked by how many waterfalls are at the bottom of the canyon. So I thought that was, I don't know, I just thought that was kind of cool. So anyways, here's my training and nutrition plan. This is what I did. So I have been a weightlifter since 1994. I've never really been an endurance athlete. I did a few triathlons. I was never good at them. I sucked at running. I actually have osteoarthritis in my foot. I can't run anymore. It's fine. At the time, I was 45 years old. Again, I had osteoarthritis in my foot. I had metal implants in my hip and my femur that do get irritated during tough exercises. Now, since I broke my leg in January 2023, I now have an additional rod in the lower half of my left leg. So I did not have that yet while I was hiking the canyon for the first time. So that's one thing that is changing my training just a little bit, is that I am working with my injury and working on gaining that strength back so that I can continue to be a weightlifter, but then also be a hiker, do yoga, all that kind of stuff. So during quarantine in summer of 2020, I really kind of took a break from the hashtag sit life. My life was so rigid. It was so structured. I just kind of wanted a break from it. I know a lot of other people are like, oh, I'm going to use this time to work out and do all this stuff and like meal prep and there's no excuse and whatever. And I'm like, I'm going to take a break from it. That's what I did. Every day, 4 o'clock was happy hour. I ate a lot of chocolate covered nuts from Costco, and you know which ones I'm talking about. They're in the containers. There's caramel, there's coconut. It's a whole thing, right? So I did a lot of that during the summer of 2020. I turned 40 in 2017. And for that birthday, my husband and I went to the Grand Canyon. I'd never seen it before. I'd flown over it, but I'd never seen it before. When I was there were, I could see the trails in the bottom, going down to the bottom of the canyon. And I said to him, do people hike this? And he's like, yeah, you can actually hike from one side to the other. And that kind of put that bug in my ear about potentially doing this at some point. So this is something I had been thinking about since 2017. 2020 comes, I'm taking a break from the hashtag Fit Life. And then now we're coming up to 2021, end of 2021, beginning of 2022. And I'm like, all right, I need to get my act back together here. I need a goal. This is something I've been thinking about since 2017. Let's do it. Okay. So that's just to give you a little bit of like where I was. I was, mentally, I knew what it took to prepare for things. I'd done competitive bodybuilding competitions. I'd done triathlons. I'm not new to sort of competitive sports. I'm not good at them. I always think I'm pretty mediocre. I'm not a very competitive. I'm competitive with myself. I really don't care if I beat you. Um, so I had started back to the gym, mid to late 2021 or so. Kind of, like I said, kind of took the break. Got back to the gym, was starting to live consistently again, just getting back into my normal routine. I had it set up a nice garage gym, my Top Guns garage gym, which is now in the house because I have room for it in the house. And I really started getting back in the weightlifting routine. It's something I love, something I've always done. That's going to be the first thing I always go back to. So then I spent a lot of time in the sauna and the steam room at the gym to build up my tolerance to the heat for at the bottom of the canyon. But I also live in Phoenix. So I had to train all summer long in the heat. So I needed to build up that tolerance so I could do the training, which I'm really glad that I did, because we did have a period of time at the bottom of the canyon during the hike where the sun was directly overhead. It was probably 95 degrees. It was hot. It's not fun, but I was used to it. We were used to it. We had done all the training in the heat in the summer. I'd spent all the time in the sauna and the steam room. I knew how my body reacted. I did have to bail on a few hikes over the summer because of that. I was trying to learn how my body reacted in the heat. Sometimes I wasn't eating enough, that kind of thing. But I was, more concerned with learning how my body reacts than actually like completing the hikes. Just because I didn't want to end up on the news. Let's see. So I also hiked North Mountain in Phoenix 2 times a week for, 6 to 7 months, sometimes even 3 times, sometimes just once. And I really think that helped me with the downhill. What I have since learned about training for the downhill is that one thing you can do is you can walk backwards on a treadmill, walk backwards on the sidewalk, walk backwards on a trail. And that will actually help prepare you for the downhill. So if you live in an area where you don't have access to hills and you can't just go up and down and do the downhill, that is something you can do, is do that up and backwards walking will actually train those same muscles that you use for the downhill. There's a podcast that I listen to, Grand Canyon something. I'll find the link to it and I'll link to it in the description. But there's a lot of, people share their stories, people share how they're doing the training. There's trainers that are giving advice. It's really great information, and that's where I learned that particular thing. So I did hike North Mountain quite a bit, specifically to train for that downhill. And then I slowly built up long hikes like I would with marathon training. I had done a half marathon eons ago, so I kind of knew how to do that. That you're just establishing a good base and then adding up to 10% each week, not adding too much so you don't get injured. So I really started with a 5-mile base in February of 2022, built up to 8 miles with some elevation by March, 10 miles in April. I stayed at 12 to 13 miles over the summer. And then August and September is where I really hit it hard with a 15, 16, and then an 18-mile hike. I did have to bail on a couple of hikes because I was hiking in the Phoenix heat and I wasn't taking in enough calories. That was something I had to figure out for myself, was what kind of calories did I need to help with that heat. And I also did have to go north for a couple hikes, just get out of the heat. It's hot. So some other things that I did Pilates to build core strength. I would add build core and pelvic stability. I know that's part of your core, but really that's what I think the benefit for me was pelvic stability. So when you're walking on rocks and loose rocks and that you're keeping your pelvic area stable. Yoga to release some of the tight muscles. I would also add that a lot of the yoga and Pilates moves are the same. So you can do some yoga to also get that core and that pelvic stability as well. I did ride my Peloton for cardiovascular health. That is something I'm doing differently this time around, is I'm adding more time on the on my Peloton and then also on the step mill. Just simply because it's dusty, it's hot. I have a hard time breathing sometimes outside. So if I do some more cardio work indoors, I feel like I can get some really good activity in and just building up that endurance of my heart and my lungs. That's really the focus there is building that up. I did do weights a few times a week. I'm continuing to do that. And I do that simply because I love lifting weights. There's a lot of people that say that they don't lift weights. Totally fine. It's something I like to do. I'm not going to stop doing it. And then I did some bar classes here and there. The gym that I was going to at the particular time, they had bar classes, so I went to them. And then I watched on the treadmill while listening on meetings and watching TV or training videos, that kind of stuff. So you can watch his video from the treadmill. So that's what I did. I think this time around, really what I'm doing differently is that I'm going to start doing more of the walking backwards on the treadmill. I think I was prepared. I was 100% prepared for the downhill. Hiking North Mountain really, really helped with that. By the time I got down to the bottom of South Kaibab, my quads were shaking a little bit, but it wasn't horrible. I was definitely prepared for that. I am going to do more on the Peloton to build up my cardiovascular health and just my capacity of my heart and my lungs. I am going to do some more work on the step mill. I will wear a weighted vest. One thing I have figured out, the step mill is really boring. So what I do is I take my Peloton app on my phone and I'll do like a treadmill workout or a rowing workout, but I'll do it on the step mill. So when the instructor's like, okay, we're going to speed up and now we're going to slow down, like I will do that on the step mill. And I've gotten up already to an hour on the step mill, which is completely unheard of. I used to be that one to be like 3-5 minutes and I'm like, I'm done. I'm out of here. So that's one thing that I've really found is really helpful for me mentally is get on that step mill. I would also add skipping steps on the step mill. Some of those steps getting out of the canyon are larger than like a normal step. And by the time you're hiking out of the canyon, your legs are done, your legs are tired. My hip flexors were so just done. Like the act of just lifting my leg up over a step was just, oh my God. And it would have been different if it was just like kind of a straight up slope and I could kind of just slosh my feet, but that's how it is. You have to pick your legs up. So I'm going to do more on the step mill this time around, and then just more sort of core and hip flexor work, getting those hip flexors stronger. I think that after I broke my leg, I spent a lot of time on the couch. I was on the couch like 5 to 6 months. And I think I just lost a lot of hip flexor strength as a result of being on the couch. So I'm going to be doing a lot of hip flexor work and exercises to strengthen that as well. So for my nutrition, I did start losing some weight, which is fine. I wanted to lose weight. I still would. Everybody wants weight, right? So I did start losing weight, and I didn't even realize it until one of my friends mentioned it to me. She's like, "It looks like you're losing a few pounds here." And I got on the scale and I had lost like 15 pounds and just really didn't even realize it. I didn't really change anything about my nutrition. The problem is that I just wasn't taking in enough quality calories for energy. So I had decided to put the kibosh on, trying to lose some weight. The problem that I did was I was just like eating calories for calories' sake. And I ended up gaining some weight that I probably didn't necessarily need to. But I was just like, I know that I need to eat calories, and it wasn't the best thing. So this time around, I'm really going at this with a structured nutrition plan, versus just being like, I got to eat calories. So I'm going to eat, I'm going to eat pizza and hamburgers and all this stuff, which is fine because you get the salt and you get some of the nutrients that you need that way. And it's a quick, easy way to get a lot of calories in, but it's probably not the best thing to do. So that's what I'm doing this time around is I am following a structured nutrition plan for my training. Certain days of the week, I will eat more calories to help prepare for some of these harder hikes, some of the harder training sessions. And then, we'll scale things back on other days of the week where I'm not training necessarily as hard. I did figure out that one of the best things for recovery for me was sitting in a hot salt bath and drinking a protein shake, making sure it has full amino acids. That worked really well for me. The protein shake was just really easy to digest. It wasn't like a huge meal that I had to, chew and then suck a bunch more water down to help with the chewing and that. So having that protein shake really helped me And the heat just feels really good on my muscles. I know a lot of people like the cold better. For me, the heat seems to work really well, even to the point that sometimes after I'm done with a hard training session, I'll actually take an electric blanket and wrap it around my legs just for like 10 minutes just to help with the recovery. So that is something that really worked well for me. It might not work for you, but again, this is just my experience. So on the at the end of the hike, the hotel I was staying at did not have a bathtub, so I only had a shower. So what I did is I took like the hottest shower I possibly could, and then I took the salts and just like rubbed them between my hands and then rubbed them up and down my legs. So maybe the rubbing is what helped with my recovery. I don't know. But whatever, it worked. The next day, I was not very sore at all. My TVAs, so your transverse abs, they're your very deep core muscle. They were at all. My TVAs, so your transverse abs, they're your very deep core muscle. They were really sore. Like I was really sore. So that was just from, wearing my pack and having to stabilize myself. That's where I was really sore the next day. My legs, totally fine. So some of the things that I ate during the hike. So on hiking day, I had the peanut butter and honey Uncrustables. Those are amazing. I've only found them at Target. They're so good. But that's the only time I eat them. I ate Fig Newtons, some chips, grapes, peanut butter pretzels, and then some cold waffles with honey. I have a really hard time hiking with food in my stomach. So I really try hard to find this really calorie dense food so I can have a lot of calories with lower volume. And I ate about 100 calories per hour, which I've been doing some reading on some nutrition for women my age, mid 40s, that I probably should be eating more like 200 to 250 calories per hour. So this time around, I'm upping that rather than eating 100 calories per hour, I'm going to up that to 200 to 250 calories per hour. And then I had a salt tablet every 2 hours with electrolytes in between. I think I overdid it with the electrolytes. My mouth was pretty raw afterwards, but whatever. So, and then this is what I said that I would do differently the second time around. Adding the step mill and skipping steps, the last 3 miles were rough. I read on a Facebook post, somebody had said that their soul left their body, and that's like the only way I could describe it. I was like swearing. I even in this Facebook post, if you read it, I even apologized. I was like, if you heard me swearing, I'm sorry. But it was like the last 3 to 4 miles where I was just like, my legs were just done. Mentally, I was just done. So I really want to work on that for next time, is just being better prepared for that last 3 to 4 miles coming out, both physically and mentally. So I'll do more of the step mill. I do need to work on the hip flexors just because they did get weak from, breaking my leg and sitting on the couch for 5 to 6 months, to work on my balance, to get my balance back. My ankle and my knee, I had surgery. So my ankle and my knee, I'm still working on that strength. So I've got what I would do differently here. But again, now I'm adding in some additional things just because of my injury. No, I never really did it. But now I do have, I can walk, I can hike, and then I can ride my Peloton, and I even swim now too. So I have found some cardio related activities that I actually enjoy doing versus just going to the gym and getting on an elliptical and, banging that out for an hour. It's just horrible to me. So that is what I did to train for my first Grand Canyon hike, and a little bit about some of the things that I am doing differently this time around that I am training for it. So I've got several months yet before my next hike. So I think the big things that I'm working on right now are my balance, building up that stability, getting in those long hikes again. I just started hiking, last Labor Day weekend was actually like my first big hike after I broke my leg. So I had a full winter of hiking, and now it's, let's start increasing miles and then hiking in the heat, but being safe about hiking in the heat. The other thing I'm doing differently is that I will go out and hike now. So it's June. So in this post here, I had said that I had a good base of 12 to 13 miles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue doing that. It worked out good. I did 12 miles last weekend, but what I did was I did 8.5 miles. And then it got to the point I was like, okay, I think it's too hot out here. It's the beginning of summer. I'm not acclimated to this heat yet. So I left the hiking trail, went to the gym, got on the treadmill, put on a Peloton class, and then added some incline, and then I finished out the last 3.5 miles on the treadmill. So I'm going to be doing that a lot more this summer. I'm still going to go north to get some of those longer hikes so I can get out of the heat. But what I'm going to do here is, get up super early, get some good walking in or some hiking in, and then continuing on the treadmill to continue to get the miles and the time on the feet. When people say time on the feet is probably the most important thing when training for the Grand Canyon, that is 100% true. This is so different from doing a marathon. A marathon, you're running, you're done in 4 hours, right? Whereas this is a long day-long hike, and you need to be mentally prepared for walking for 16, 17 hours if necessary, even longer if you need breaks and that kind of thing. So it's a big mental game. There's a lot to it when your mind is starting to play tricks on you and you're just like, why am I doing this? Oh my God, oh my God. You've got to be able to push through that. So I felt really prepared for the hike. I felt it was an enjoyable day. We did the work. So it was really just like, well, this is sort of the next progression of what we've been training for. So it was an enjoyable day. The next day I did wake up and think, oh, I don't want to go back, because there are some people, they'll hike, sleep, and then hike again back the next day. I wasn't interested in doing that. I'm still not interested in doing that. But at some point, maybe I will. Maybe I'll be like, yeah, let's do it. I don't know. But as of right now, I am not interested in doing that. And so when I woke up the next day, I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. So I hope this was helpful for you. Again, this is just my experience. This is what worked for me. This is what's working for me as I'm preparing for it the second time around. I'm going to make some check-in videos as I'm preparing for this, just kind of sharing what I'm doing for training, what I'm doing for nutrition, things like that. I hope that you'll find it helpful. I know that I always found these kind of videos helpful. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.